diesel engines, Enterprise, that long, on two generators that big, on one electric motor that big, on a 110-foot tug with an 11-inch shaft for that tug. I'm going to go take care of that little motor. So for transportation, they send me up to San Francisco at Hunters Point. I'm standing right there on the Indianapolis at Hunters Point. I'm a passenger. The atomic bomb is right here on this day. I walked around the atomic bomb before they dropped it. So these are my real blood brothers. So now this hat here did not come to me for 60 years after this fact. After this fact. 60 years later is when I got my hat, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I'm on that ship, walked around the atomic bomb, met some sailors, and I met one in particular. His name is Jarvis. And before I read his letter that he wrote to me, so I went on to my tug at Pearl Harbor. And I have to jump the story, but let's see. I'll have to jump my story. I'll get back to my other stories. I have to jump now from there to after the war. In the year 2005, there it is right there. 1945, that's when you saw me standing on that. 60 years later, 2005, I get a letter in the mail. They want me to Indianapolis at the reunion. I used to be on that ship. So when I went to the reunion, that's when they gave me my hat. I'm a former crew. I used to be on that ship. I'm not a survivor. But my story don't end there. Well, I might as well go through this here. That ship sank in 12 minutes. Captain Yamamoto raised his periscope at midnight on June 30th, 1945, at midnight. He sees an American fighting ship. Oh my gosh, he brings down his periscope. He waits a few minutes. And if the first torpedo hit the front of the ship where I was sleeping, I wasn't there. The next torpedo hit amidship, and the ship sank at midnight in 12 minutes. In 12 minutes, it was gone. These are pictures that I've got that I took after the war. I would always put it up on my board there, remembering in 800 of my Payeur Realty in Sanford, that board was there. You probably went by it years ago. Well, I put it on remembering my 880 men that lost their lives, my shipmates. But at the reunion, I started to interview everybody I could. And those that I could, I told them, write me a letter. I wanted to know what happened to you after 3 or 4 days fighting the sharks and trying to survive. It took 3 or 4 days before they got picked up. Nobody knew where that ship was. They were looking for it. And the men were dying. 880 lost their lives. So I know more about that ship and what happened than anybody living. Because I interviewed all those people. There they are in the water. When they woke up, when they finally come to daylight, thousands of people are wounded in the water, breaking arms, the shark getting that blood, having a heck of a good time. And so I interviewed all these people, and I told them to write me a letter. And I lost all my letters in the mail, but I got this one is saved. Here it is, a little smoke on it. And I'm going to read you that letter. The guy that was on that ship. Get my reading glasses here. His name is James Jarvis. His picture is in that book, but I haven't got much time to read it. But He after 60 years. Well, I met him in 60 years, but the next month, the date that he wrote me this letter is right there, July 27, 2006. The reunion was 2005. I told him, write me a letter. I want to know what happened to you. And I had all these letters, but they all burned. But I got this one here. Sorry it took so long to answer your letter. I was going through some papers and found your letter. I remember that some sailors got off at Pearl. You must have been one of them. I had been in the Navy since 1944, but that was the first time aboard ship, so I was very loose. I had very little sea duty. I was a machinist mate 3rd class and did metal work and other maintenance. There was 3 airplanes on the Indianapolis, and he worked on those airplanes. The older planes were replaced with the SC-1s. That was when I was assigned to the Indy. We went on an overnight shakedown, and shortly afterwards went to Hunters Point to pick up the bomb. They didn't know what was in that bomb. Nobody knew, but this is after the fact. This is 60 years later, so he knew about the bomb, but nobody knew it was on the bomb. On the big crate, it was radio gear. They had 4 Marines with fixed bayonets watching that big crate. And the captain's orders were, you deliver this crate to Tinian as fast as you can, and if this ship sinks, put the crate on a lifeboat and deliver it to Tinian. The heck of 1,200 sailors, let them drown. But get back to my letter. As soon as it was learned that the bomb worked, we were on our way. You probably saw the box at the hangar. My bunk was at the mezzanine, right above it. The box was marked radio gear. I remember the crane operator at Tinian saying that if it had weighed another 100 pounds, we could pick it up. The crane operator that took the crate off at Tinian to put it on the Enola Gay, he was there. And he says the crane operator at Tinian said that if it had weighed another 100 pounds, he couldn't pick it up. The crane was only good for 11,000 pounds. So that's how heavy that bomb was, 11,000 pounds. If it had been another 100 pounds, you could have picked it up. That's what he told this guy writing to me. Okay. After dropping off the bomb at Tinian, we went to Guam and loaded ammunition, then left for Lady Gulf. About halfway there, we were torpedoed. I was asleep, but woke up very quickly. Dressed, found a K-Pox, that's a life jacket, and went down to the well deck. The ship kept listing, and it sank in 12 minutes, don't forget. The ship kept listing to starboard. When the water came up to the center of the well deck, we decided to get off. We did down the port side and started swimming. Most of the V division got off because they were bunked at the hangars. I was with buddy Harold Hooper. I interviewed Harold Hooper until Wednesday. By then hypothermia starting. Dr. Haynes told me, I interviewed him, he says, to all the guys in the water, if you guys drink salt water, you will hallucinate. You won't be here very long. You won't make it. Don't forget about drinking salt water. They was in the water for 3 or 4 days, these people. No water, no food, the sun burning them. Hypothermia was starting to affect us. He said he should try to swim to Lady. I told him that was 300 miles away. He told his buddy he wanted to swim, hallucinating. He wanted to swim to Haiti. It was 300 miles. I did not get attacked by sharks. I only saw one big fish and don't know if it was a shark. The first day we got hungry, and then we got thirsty. And forget about being hungry. The sun really beats down on your head near the equator. So I cut off my legs. He's in the water with his knife. He underwater cuts off his legs to protect himself from the sun. I got those stories from other people about that. The first day you get hungry, blah, 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 you forget. So I cut off the legs off my pants and put it on my head. And some of them started losing it. And I got away from them and stayed by myself. We were found Thursday afternoon. Wilbur Quinn was on the submarine patrol flying the FV-23.